Greetings, friends! I just wanted to introduce this video real quick because, well, I decided to make myself a new YouTube channel for my art stuff. And in doing so, I thought, well, shouldn't I, update my branding with things like a new logo and new YouTube banner and some other video related stuff. And I did all of that, and I even recorded it. So that's what you're watching now, this video of me making my new branded graphics. So enjoy! Hello, it's me, here to talk to you about these, as I've called them, branded graphics. I first started by using Milanote and sorting all of these images that I've had in there for ages, untouched. I created a mood board of sorts to help me figure out more of, the aesthetic for my branding. It's in line with the aesthetic that I've had previously for my branding, but I'm trying to evolve it. And in that process, I decided that I want to incorporate more of how I actually create my art these days. So if you've been following me for the past year, you might know that I've been trying to post more on social media, post more animations. Last year especially, a lot of them were this process of taking images that I've taken, outside near where I live, and combining them with colors and using blend modes. I love blend modes. And manipulating the images in that way, usually to turn them more abstract and make them unrecognizable, but create something really cool looking, really different from those pieces. So I started off with that. I will say this was experimentation, but I liked the way it turned out, so I kept it. I started out with some images and started incorporating the colors that I already use in my branding. I did update this teal sort of color because it was a little too green before, but everything else is still the same. And then I was looking through the images that I just recently took. It's April right now, so everything is starting to grow back a little bit, but not too much. And then I also took a couple of images of my own plants that I have at my house that I actually took these images 2 years ago, but they've proven useful for me now. So sometimes being a digital hoarder pays off. And the images that I use for the backgrounds I tend to keep pretty whole, whereas these images of my plants, I separated them from their backgrounds, partly because some of them I only needed small parts. I wanted them to be the subjects of the image rather than parts of the background per se, although this one ends up being part of the background in a different way, but that's beside the point. My point is that I isolate these ones for one reason, because the backgrounds aren't nature and they don't fit in, but also because it helps to separate them from the rest of the background, or in some cases helps them feel just more like part of the background. Is that contradictory? Sure. But here's an example where this little plant gave me a lot of trouble until I decided to put it more in the background, and it fit in better back there. When I did my mood board, I had a fish image that I removed ultimately because it didn't fit in. The fish didn't fit. But when I put the little plant in the background, it looked fishy to me, and I thought that's pretty cool. There's my story. So the process is, a lot of fiddling around, a lot of layers, and I kept going back to the mood board to make sure that everything was still keeping in with that aesthetic. It's an aesthetic that I've been using it for quite some time now, even with the past iteration of my branding, and The best way I can describe this concept is space ocean. Yeah, and I think the plants add to that aesthetic as well. It gives it a kind of mysterious, ambiguous vibe. Yeah, so this was for a YouTube banner. That's what I ended up using it for first. Once I set it up, then I had an idea. I'm having this idea right now. I've been working on what you've seen just now, this background, and I'm thinking about my logo now too. I have the hand logo. Then a couple years ago I tried to do something different and use like the crystal. That I want to keep the hand. This is me thinking this through, by the way, thinking out loud. I want to keep the hand as my logo. I like having something different to use as my profile picture on different websites. But as far as like my logo for my brand, I want to keep it the hand. I want to use my actual hand, so I want to do like what I did for the background and kind of collage some images together. I think I can use some of the plant images to make the little antler finger. And then, yeah, maybe I can take a picture of my actual hand and use that as the basis for creating the new version of my logo. Then I also had a thought just now, because I have that profile picture that's like the crystal, and I've been doing more with the crystal aesthetic, maybe try making a hand that's a crystal. But I don't know that I want to do the hand. I don't think I want both the collage and the crystal for the hand. So if I use the crystal for the profile picture, it'll probably be a different subject than my own hand. But for the logo, maybe I'll try both and see which one works well. I think the photo should go well with what I have. Yeah, and I have to figure out the text. Anyway, thanks for listening. I hope you didn't hear too much background noise. Back to me. Thanks, me. The photo did go well. I did not do the crystal. Perhaps one day for my profile picture. But for now I only did the logo, and I only did the logo with my hand. I started off with one set of images of my hand and then realized that they weren't right. So I put them up against a wall, but then I realized that, well, it's the front, it's like the palm side of my hand that I need to do, not the back side. And I put it up against the wall, but then my fingers bend back the wrong way, because when I did my original logo, I dipped my hand in paint and I put it on a piece of paper, and then I scanned that paper. And when I redrew the logo as the illustrated version last time in 2016, I still used basically the original scan. And so I actually needed to take a picture pretending like I was pushing my hand on paper. That gave me the correct perspective on the hand. And then I just kind of cut out the hand. Well, I used a clipping mask. If you don't know what that is, Google it. But I used the clipping mask to cut out the parts of my fingers that you would see. Did it look great? No. But that's the thing. Sometimes your art doesn't look great. Sometimes it's ugly for a really long time. And that's where I found that adding more layers can sometimes help. You don't want to overdo things, and it is easy to overdo them sometimes. But if it's ugly, especially in the beginning, it doesn't mean all is lost. It's okay. Now this I thought was pretty interesting. I took one of those pictures of my plants, and I wanted to manipulate it into this antler shape. That's what the missing finger has been replaced by, an antler. And I thought, I've used the plants. I could probably make this plant into an antler. Not plantler, because that's my planet antler combination. Different thing. But I didn't want to mess it up, or I thought, how can I manipulate this without spending too much time on it. So I actually cut out the pieces and just made a rough sketch and then did a cleaner version of it. And I think it turned out really nicely. So that way I could lay everything out. And then I went through with like the clone stamp tool. No, I used the healing brush tool, I think. In retrospect, I probably should have also used the clone stamp tool, but just to kind of smooth over the areas where I had cut things out and moved them around. And I think overall it turned out pretty well. It took me a long time to get it to look exactly how I wanted it to, because I messed up around with the hand and I added another image on top of my hand as well. So it's a combination of my real skin texture and another nature image. And I was messing around with gradients and the blend modes and adding glow and everything, inner glow and outer glow. And it was looking really cool for the hand. Then I just felt like the antler part, which should be what your attention is drawn to because it's weird and different, right? I was just feeling like it was being overwhelmed by the rest of the hand, because the rest of the hand was so colorful and really bright, and the plant honestly was a little dull. It's not desaturated, but it wasn't working quite right. And I also realized before this that I missed the kind of sketchy quality that I had to my last logo. So I added that back in with some outline around everything. Tried doing a reflection to see if that would work, and I deleted it not long after. Working more with the background element as well, because I thought it turned out pretty cool for the other image, but I was having another difficulty with the hand, which is that I designed it against the dark blue, and so it really didn't work against the lighter teal color. That was fun, because I wanted it to have more texture. So I tried messing around with the fiber that you can generate in Photoshop, which is a texture that I do like, but then it became too textured and too cluttered. So I messed around with this a lot before I ultimately found some effects that really worked for what I wanted. I was trying to mess around with crystallize. I think pointillize is what did it for me, and then maybe a couple of other ones as well. So there was a lot of experimentation. A lot. But ultimately I liked the way that it turned out. So this is where I finally decided to add in a gradient with my orange color over the plant, because I thought, well, it was being overwhelmed by the hand, in part because, and it didn't fit in part because the hand has so much color to it, and the plant was just this, it's not one shade of green, but it's very monochromatic. So I think adding in that orange helped to give it a little something extra. Yeah, at least I'm pretty happy with how it came out. So this is where I got to the pointillize effect, and again messing with blend modes, layering things. I layered a lot in this one. I was trying to make the gradient work, because I did have a gradient. Again, it's not like I wanted to go completely different from what I had originally, especially for my logo, but I wanted to evolve it. So there were some things that I wanted to at least try keeping around, which is like this gradient in here. And again, it helps to give, in my opinion, that ocean vibe. Then I wanted to test it against my other background to make sure, does this fit in all contexts? And I started to do that, but I didn't put too much effort into the YouTube banner before I thought, oh, I'll make my end screen graphic now. So that's what you're seeing now, is what you'll see at the end of this video. It says, thank you for watching and subscribe, and here's a video you like. Again, a lot of messing around with this. Since the experimental plant image turned out so well, thought I'll keep using it as a background basis for many different graphics. So the banner itself, as well as my end screen video. But at first I was playing around with having it be more overlaid with the teal color. And then that was not really working for getting the other elements to pop out from the back. Did I just say pop? To stand out from the background like I wanted them to. So I ended up using the dark blue. Then I felt that actually kind of suits it better along, referencing back to my YouTube banner that I had going so far. It worked pretty well. Then there were some things that I tried across the different graphics, like adding in that line from the brush like I did with my hand. It didn't really work at first. And I layered a lot on this one too. So it becomes a kind of green color because I used my teal and I used my orange and I just kept adding things and seeing what worked and what didn't work. Then I thought, why not take my little fish plant and throw it up at the top here just to give it something a little more interesting, So I did that. And again, I'm very happy with how all of this turned out. I'm sure that I'll want to continue to refine it in the future. But it all came together pretty quickly and easily. And I'm really happy about that because it makes me feel like I've reached a point in my skill level where I can more easily accomplish what I have in my head, or I can not have much in my head and still make something that looks pretty good because I have those instincts now trained inside of me to know what will ultimately look good or good enough. Now the YouTube banner, I feel very certain that I will revisit this one. It's not that I don't like the way it looks, it's that I really didn't know what to have it be. So it's just my logo and Caribou animation. By the way, that's how I pronounce it, Caribou. If you're wondering what it means, my name is Brooke. Just look at the letters in Caribou and look at the letters in Brooke. So yeah, it was just that, but it looked pretty decent on my actual YouTube channel. You can take a look at it now and let me know what you think. Then I was going through the process of editing this video, and I thought, you know what I could use? Some background things to use as overlays. I did make them full images, and I just have the video on top. As you've seen previously in this exact video, go ahead and rewind it if you don't believe me. So they're not cut out and put on top of the video. The video is put on top of the image. I might make cutout versions so that I could more easily edit if I want to do like scale up kind of thing. But for now, it was good enough just to have them. And yeah, I was, again, trying to go for a similar aesthetic. In this one, I had this wood picture. It was like a picture I took from a tree trunk. And when I used my blend modes, I thought, this has the crystal feeling. Maybe now's the time to pursue that. So I did. Again, I'm digging the way that everything came out. I'm not sure that it's fully matching in aesthetic. Like, I think it's a little all over the place between the banner that I made and the logo and these overlays, quote unquote. It's not all 100% the same, but I think I kind of like that about it. I've still used the same methods to create everything, and I've still used the same color palette, and I've still used the same kinds of images, not the same exact images, but so to have all of those elements that are the same or similar and they come out really different, I like it. And this is the end now. So here you can see in action my new end screen. I'm going to be making tons of art videos, I'm sure, and not just posting this one and forgetting for a while. So please subscribe, and thank you again for watching. Peace out.